Hey artists, so we're gonna think a little bit about making a collage today as a plan for our surrealism drawing. And you wanna just not overthink it, but if you're seeing things in magazines that you really like, just start to sort of tear out that entire page. Sometimes there's a variety of objects, people, or animals in the mix. And then you can kind of just keep a collection going. You can see I've got lots of things here. I've just tucked into my my little plastic folder, but you can of course use the back of your sketchbook. It's better to have many ideas and combinations than not enough to choose from. So I came upon an image of these eggs, and I really was inspired by that, and I wanted to just find something that might be interesting that I could assemble using those eggs as a round shape. So this is the collage paper that we're all going to be using. It's not overly large. It's 10 inches by 6.5 inches. Now that scale and that size is going to be really important later as we come to building this into a bigger drawing. So with the eggs, I searched and searched in the magazines and I found no ideas until I found this image online. And I thought that maybe with all these textures and colors, it would be really great as the black and white part of my image, whereas these eggs could be a colorful component and I can combine them in some interesting way. So to modify this, I just scanned it, or you could take a photo using your phone. And then once it's into the computer or your phone, you're able to manipulate it. And I just printed this one out in grayscale or black and white. So if I know I want this image, you also can resize it, which may be very helpful depending on what you're finding and what might work on something that's only this size, right? So you have to keep this size of paper in mind, allowing for negative space. When you know you're going to use something, the best idea is to just do a rough cut first. I'm going to maintain the shadow here. Just a rough cut, somewhat close to the image, but not perfectly. You just want to get all this excess paper right out of your way. Holding this is way better than holding a floppy mess. And from there, I keep my scissors quite wide open, and I just very carefully can follow all of the contours. Okay, so kind of like this. And of course, you can come back around, give it another pass, but just really taking our time as we do this work. I would not spend time doing this kind of detailed cutting unless you're fairly certain that it's an image you're going to use, right? Again, I just want to maintain some of that shadow where the bird is standing. I think that's going to help with the realism in my artwork down the road. There we go. So something like that. If you need to get into a little area like this to remove the background or the inside, a couple of options. You can kind of gently fold and snip so that your scissors can get in there. This one feels a bit small, so I may just leave it and kind of not include that when I'm drawing. Or you can ask and borrow an X-Acto knife and just carefully get into that little window cut out. So I'm gonna leave this bird about here, and then I need to start thinking about how I can incorporate these in an interesting way. This is the part of collage making where you really need to kind of play around, maybe standing on these, I don't know. I've got this really big one, and that might be really interesting for scale change. So a huge part of this work is just having all your items cut and starting to assemble them. You know, I actually think I saw some balloons here. back over in my magazines. Maybe those would be interesting. Maybe I can layer. Maybe I can start to substitute some of these for little eggs. Okay, I like that plan. So the idea is you want to continue cutting and continue moving and playing with your composition until you really feel convinced about it. I have opportunities here on an angle. You want to make use of that full image, that full negative space. And then it's worth just grabbing your phone and taking a few photos of different combinations before you ever glue anything down, right? So it's worth, again, thinking about it, asking a friend, having various options that you can scroll through in your camera roll when you're really decided on something. And I do feel pretty good about the chicken being low and centered. So one last tip with your glue, you don't want a big gluey mess on the collage paper. So you want to go off to the side, just maybe on some scrap from a magazine. Okay, so I'm not using this, so that works perfectly well, which allows me to put it like so, and just very carefully, but very generously, getting that glue straight to the edges while maintaining a clean piece of paper. Okay? And of course, keep your lid on your glue stick and kind of keep all your little odds and ends tucked away in your sketchbook as you continue to work on this collage.